just a funny and a comic way of showing what happens if you are focused on experience. No matter what situation you are in, you are able to deliver a very targeted message and communication to the end customer. Now, one of the things that I always get asked is there any value, monetary value to focusing on experience? Can it be proved, or is it all, fluffy? Is it all, let's focus on experience because that's good to do? There is a lot of research that has been done here. One of my favorites is this one, which was done by Forrester and Watermark Consulting some time back. They looked at the financial performance of S&P 500 companies over a period of 7 years. And during that time, they analyzed how well those companies were doing, and they segmented them by companies who invested in customer experience versus companies who were laggards. Now you can see the numbers on the screen, so I'm not going to walk you through them and belabor you with that point. What jumped out for me on this slide is that companies that actually do not focus on customer experience, they destroy shareholder value, which is a cardinal sin if you are running a business, because you are better off returning the money to the shareholder rather than running the business, because you are essentially destroying value. So this is one of the data points that I tend to use to articulate the fact that when you invest in experiences, there are financial benefits to that. They might not be visible in 1 week or 1 month, but if you continue to do that, there is statistically significant data now to show that companies who invest in experiences do better than companies who do not. Now, as a part of trying to understand what does it mean for someone to deliver great experiences, one of the things we did was we conducted a research in the UK with Goldsmith University. And in that research, we wanted to understand how the future of experience is shaping. More specifically, we wanted to understand that as new technologies start to come in, what is the impact of that on brands for delivering great experiences? What is it that the customers are asking for, the consumers are asking for, as we live through this world where the digital channels are proliferating, increasing in number, as well as becoming more and more sophisticated. So what we found, and this report, by the way, is available for you to read on the internet. You can find this report by searching for future of experience. I'm going to give you an executive summary and my point of view of what we found was important. What we found was that there were 5 rules of engagement that brands, companies, businesses need to continue to focus on to be ready for the future of experience, no matter which way it shapes up. And those 5 rules are on the screen. I'll go through each one of them one by one and I'll give you a quick example. So the first rule that came out was empathy. Now, what do you mean by empathy? Empathy is being able to put yourself in the shoes of the customer and see things from the point of view of the customer. Now, you would be thinking that when was that not important? That was always important. Looking things from the point of view of the customer. And you are right, it was always important. It is more important now for the following reasons. What is happening is that when we started to engage with our customers digitally, the way we did that was through websites, which meant that the customers had to type in a website address, actually use a screen and a keyboard and mouse to engage with our brands digitally. That's how the overall digital engagement started with brands. Now the reality is that whole interaction with a computer is not natural to us as human beings. We are not born to work on a mouse and a keyboard using a screen. So it was so unnatural, it was so constrained that we learned how to do that. Then came smartphones, tablets, etc. The interaction became a little bit more natural. It was touch, it was swipe, it was pinch and zoom. So slightly more natural than using a mouse and a keyboard. Where we have ended up now is the interaction that brands are starting to have using technology with their consumers is a lot more conversational. So Amazon Echo, you're talking to Amazon Echo. any bot that you are chatting with, you are having a natural conversation. Those are things that human beings naturally do very well. So when you talk about empathy, when you talk about putting yourself in the shoes of the customer, what came out from the research, which was very fascinating for me, is that the more sophisticated the technology gets, the more focused we have to be on the human, which is at the center of receiving that experience. Because more will be getting closer and closer to the area of expertise, an area of comfort for the human beings who are at the center of receiving that particular experience. So that's empathy. The second point was there about serendipity. Serendipity, to explain that in very simple words, is enabling discovery of pleasurable experiences that people were not looking for. Now when I explain it this way, it might seem that brands are not doing that. The reality is brands do that, but we call it personalization. We give it a sales connotation. I'm personalizing the experience because I have something to sell to you. Whereas what consumers are asking for is, do not personalize the experience. Give me the pleasure of discovering things that I was not looking for. To give you an example, I have Foursquare on my phone. I have got location services enabled. I live in London, so as a part of my regular commute, I travel through London Waterloo quite a lot. Now, Foursquare, because the location services are enabled, every time I am in Waterloo, pings me. Tells, do you want to check out the nearby bars? The thing is, when I'm at Waterloo, I'm actually either running to office or I'm going to a client meeting or going to an event. So I completely ignore that ping. However, the same app, when I recently, a few months back, went to Brussels and I checked into my hotel, I got a ping from Foursquare saying that there is a great Ethiopian restaurant nearby. Do you want to try it out? Now the truth is, I was not looking for Ethiopian food that evening. I was going to go for dinner. But that message caught my attention. I clicked on that, I looked at the review of the restaurant, booked a table, went there, had a great dinner, came back, I was very happy. Same personalization strategy. In one context, it does not make sense to me because it irritates me. It's giving me a message that I don't need. In another context, it makes perfect sense to me because it provided me with a delightful experience. Something that I was not even looking for, in this case, Ethiopian food. So when it comes to serendipity, it is important for brands to understand what to deliver when they engage with their customers. Using existing channels. We are not even talking about future channels here yet. The third piece that came out, which was very important, is privacy. Now we all know privacy is important. But what came out from this particular research is, it's not just data privacy or privacy of personal details. It's about privacy when we do not want to be disturbed. And what I mean by that is, all of us are using connected devices to disconnect from the world. So we use a phone to read a book, listen to music, play a game. During that time, we do not want to be communicated by brands because we have created our own privacy cocoon. I want to switch off even though I am working on a device that's always switched on, that's always connected to the internet. So what came out is, apart from protecting the private data, can brands make sure that they are not disturbing customers when they are, or consumers when they are in their privacy cocoon, when they do not want to be disturbed. The fourth thing is adaptability. And adaptability is about delivering the right experience in the right channel. So adapting to the right channel at the point of delivery. And we see this quite a lot. I think each one of us would have experienced that when you call up the call center of a particular brand, you get some other message, you get a different promotion and offer on the website, and the app gives you a totally different promotion or offer. So what consumers are asking is, get your app right. Adapt to the requirements of that particular channel and adapt to my requirements and do that consistently. And the final piece, which is starting to become more and more important, final piece is on reciprocity. What reciprocity is, that what the research found is that we are ready to train software and machines to understand us, as long as we know what do we get in return. So what I mean by that is, if you download an app on your phone and the app wants access to your photographs but does not say why, you will not like to give it access to your photographs. You are not going to train that app about the photographs. Or the app wants access to location even though there is no clear value statement of why that access is important. So you won't train that app on what locations do you visit. Whereas we, if the communication is clear, we are ready to train a piece of software to understand more about us, as long as that trade-off is made very, very clear, as long as that reciprocity is made very, very clear. So this is just a very, very quick executive summary of what is there in a reasonably detailed report. As I said, it's the Future of Experience report. You can read about that report online. There's a lot of other good stuff. And a lot of data in that report that you can use in your day-to-day business. So coming back to the point, what we are talking about is we are in a world where we have to make experience our business. We have to continue to make experience our business. And we saw some of the engagement points around making experience our business. One other question that comes up quite a lot is, so if we have to make experience our business, where do we start from? So I'll go through this very, very quickly. We start from the point that what we have noticed is context is the starting point. And what do we mean by this? Context is about understanding when and where you're having that conversation with the end consumer. Context is what comes from understanding the data about the customer and the situation. So you and I are interacting in a context today, right now. It's a very formal business context. If you and I run into each other in the evening at one of the fantastic Parisian restaurants, that will be a totally different context. If you ask me a question now, I'll give you an answer in a given context. If you ask me a question then, we might be talking about, in a restaurant, not about work, we might talk about something else. So as human beings, we get that context very, very well. But when we start to deliver experiences to our customer using digital channels, we start to forget that. We start to forget the context. And the context comes from data. So context is the starting line. Second point, we have to design for scale and speed. And what I mean by design is not something that looks good. Steve Jobs very, very famously said that design is not about how something looks or feels, it is about how something works end to end. So when we think about delivering great experiences, we have to design for speed, because none of us have too much time, and we have to design for scale. So that when you are able to deliver great experience in one channel, you are able to scale that across multiple channels as well as multiple geographies. And the reality is that we work with a lot of brands where delivering one great experience in one campaign is easy. But when you want to scale that across multiple brands, across multiple countries, in a cost-effective way, that's where things start to become very, very difficult. And that's where fundamentals of design come in. You have to design for speed, technically, and you have to design for scale, technically. The third piece is that we all focus on customer journeys as we want to deliver great experiences. But across that entire customer journey, there are few moments of truth that matter more than the rest. And in those moments of truth, decision gets done in milliseconds. Now typically, when somebody delivers great experiences, there are four things you need to do. You need to listen, understand the context, you need to predict what do you want to show, you need to assemble what you want to show, and then you need to deliver whatever you want to show in the channel. Now all brands do this, but great brands who deliver great experiences, actually do all these four steps within 300 milliseconds. They are able to do all of this very, very quickly at the point of truth. So that, that's where milliseconds do matter. That's where the understanding of the customer journey is important, but within that, understanding what are the moments of truth and what are the decisions that gets done within milliseconds on those moments of truth, that is also very, very important. And finally, the fourth thing is to integrate to innovate. And what we mean by that is Our customers are omni-channel. They don't care about whether you have a web team, a mobile team, a CRM team, a loyalty team, a store team. They just move from one touch point to another seamlessly. And organizations have to become omni-channel by default. They have to become multi-channel by default. They have to integrate their processes differently to follow the customer journey rather than breaking the processes by organizational silos. And one of our large airline customers did that. When they wanted to transform their organization, they just did not change their mobile app and their email delivery service or their website. They actually looked at the booking journey. They looked at the check-in journey at the airport. And they structured their organization by those journeys rather than by the email team, the mobile team, the booking team, the call center team. So these are the four things, the context, that is the starting line. We have to design for speed and scale. We have to integrate our organization to innovate, and finally, understanding those milliseconds are very, very key. Now, the way you do that typically in any company, and the way we see this in Adobe, is that you have to bring three things together. You have to bring data, you have to bring content, and you have to bring intelligence to deliver these experiences at scale. So data, content, intelligence. Now, when we show the demo, you will see in some of the context of how we bring the data and the content and the intelligence together. But what I want to do over the next few minutes is talk about this whole concept of artificial intelligence and where we are in terms of Adobe when it comes to artificial intelligence. First of all, why are we talking about artificial intelligence so much today? Because this concept has been in existence since 1950s. That's when the first research paper was published. What has happened over the last few years is that software has started to do certain things that they were not doing before. First of all, they have started to out-strategize us. And what I mean by that is that if you've heard of AlphaGo, it's a program by Google which plays the game of Go. Now, those of you who know the game of Go will know that the number of permutations and combinations that are there in the game of Go cannot be carried out by a computer. So if a computer has to beat a human player, it has to think through and it has to strategize upfront in terms of what it wants to do. When a computer plays chess against a human player, it can actually out-calculate, which is the power of computer. They do calculations very well. But we have reached a stage where the computers can actually strategize and beat the best human player at the game of Go. So that's number one. The second thing is that computers have started to outsee us. So in this image, you will take a moment to figure out which one is a dog and which one is a blueberry muffin. Okay, even a computer will. Now the thing is, in 2015, the computer error rate for identifying images like this went below 4%. Why is that number important? Because we as human beings have a 4% error rate in identifying images like these. So computers have started to outsee us. And the final point that I'll very, very quickly put is they have started to out-understand us. So a sentence like, Paris Hilton is in Paris Hilton listening to Paris. Even we will take a while, even if English is your native language, it will take a while to understand. Computers have started to understand the context. That the first Paris Hilton is a person, the second Paris Hilton is a hotel in Paris, and the third Paris is actually an album. So essentially computers are out-strategizing us, they're out-seeing us, they are out-understanding us. And in this context, what we have been working on is a system called Adobe Sensei. This is our artificial intelligence platform. This has, by the way, been in existence for a while. So it is not like we launched it yesterday. A lot of the things that have gone into Adobe Sensei have been out there. You have been using it. You just didn't know that those were based on artificial intelligence or machine learning. And what we have in Adobe Sensei are three things. Number one, we are powering creativity with the power of computer science. And what we mean by that is, let's take for example, you want to modify a particular image and you want to modify that to a level of where a professional artist will take that to. Now, how do we help you through that? So how do we help you through that? We help you through that by actually making sure that we have the. So I'm going to be playing this. This thing is actually this keeps going ahead. Sorry.